Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be looking at my hardcover books. And by that, I don't mean all of my hardcover books, but the unique ones, as I put in the description of the video and in the title, the pretty ones. And obviously pretty is a very ambiguous term, so I defined it as those with filigree, unique bindings, and other oddities. So let's get started. The first one I have here is one that I got from a used bookshop in Oregon. The name escapes me at the moment. It's Leo Tolstoy's Anna Karenina. And I think it is very unique because the filigree right here on the spine isn't just regular, like the lines right here. It has kind of this swirl-like pattern. It almost looks like abstract wheat. Or is that just me? I don't know. But yeah. And then on the front of it, it has this floral pattern. It's very nice to display on your coffee table, but I don't have a coffee table and I do not display it. It is in my bookshelf. It also has a little ribbon bookmark, which is nice. And this is what's really interesting about it. You know those friends who are like, oh, I don't read books, I only read picture books. If it doesn't have pictures, I'm not gonna read it. You know, you can go like this. Picture books. Now go read Leo Tolstoy's 1,000-page gargantuan piece of literature. It has pictures in it. This counts as a picture book. They'll probably go back on their word after you tell them that, but pictures, you know? Yeah. It's really nice. Like, this has like this watercolor images inside of it that depict scenes from the book. I'm not quite sure if they depict whatever they're talking about in the moment or just general scenes from throughout the novel. On the front page, it has just these outlines, kind of like, what are they called? The tin type portraits? Is that what they're called? No, that's not what they're called. You guys know what I mean. The engravings that they used to have from back in the day. And so yeah, the chapter font, like that of the title page, is this kind of old school Gothic font. And then here again we have another one of those tin type engravings. So yeah, that's that for Anna Karenina. And let's see what we have next. Ah yes, next we have your good old Harvard classics. Right here you can tell when it's a Harvard classic if it has this emblem that says Veritas on it, which I believe means truth in Latin. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. And so yeah, this particular one is collected plays by Christopher Marlowe and William Shakespeare. It has, what does it have in it? From Marlowe, it just has Edward II, which I have not read. I haven't read any Marlowe. The only reason I know the man exists is because I own this book. But yeah, I don't know if he's any good. And then by Shakespeare, it has Hamlet, King Lear, Macbeth, and The Tempest. So good stuff. I think this edition, according to the inside cover, was copyrighted in 1910, so this kind of style. And yeah. I said earlier you can tell if it's a Harvard classic because of the shield on the front, but you can also tell because it says Harvard Classics right there. So probably an easier way to tell if you don't remember. This one also has an image in the front. It's a painting called Shakespeare and His Friends. How do we know who Shakespeare's friends were? I do not know, but here it is. Voila. Okay. This next one isn't really a book per se, but it's still really, really cool. It's very interesting. This is a etiquette guide circa 1907, so Edwardian era. It is called Correct Social Usage. And if you can see right here on the edge, it used to have this kind of floral engraving. It was outlined in white, but obviously that's worn off with time. And then also this kind of vintage portrait kind of thing on the front showing an Edwardian lady and gentleman. And like I said, this used to be an etiquette book, but it no longer is one because this. And let me explain to you what this is. I bought this from an independent craft shop thing. Book journals shop. That's what they are, they're book journals. And basically what this artist does is that they get old books and they take off the cover, so the front cover and the back cover, and then they salvage whatever pages are still in the book. And so then they have these pages that came with the book. As you can see, these are all the original pages from 1907. And then they insert other blank pages in there so that you can do your own stuff in there, like journaling or whatever. I personally have used it as a scrapbook. I have random things in there. Here's an example of that. Oh no, it fell out. But yeah, here's a birthday card my aunt gave me, and here's a postcard my sister gave me, which apparently looks like me. And that is that. I love this book a lot because I'm a big fan of the Edwardian era, and because I just find the original content of what it used to be, namely the etiquette, to be very interesting. There's this one page that has a huge chart of which flowers convey which moods. So obviously if you send somebody a red rose, that implies passionate love. And if you send somebody, you know what, let me look that up. Ah yes, and a sunflower means adoration. And very good to consult if you don't want to send the wrong message with your floral gifts. Haha. I'm probably not gonna ever use it anyway. But yeah, that is that. This next one, I have two that are like this. This is Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. It's a little bit worn on the spine. It has this kind of filigree engraved frame with the title, and then this flourish at top and bottom, likewise on the spine. I think this style of binding came out in the 1940s, if I'm not mistaken. And so, yeah. This one also has those tintype pictures in it, if I can find one. As here, these are all original from when the book was first published, I believe, but I'll have to check on that. And that is that. Next, my favorite book of all time, not really. Wuthering Heights, a book of which I need to have a new copy because I feel like this cover is really crappy. It looks like Twilight. I have never read Twilight. I don't really want to. Might be personal prejudice. My friend read Twilight in elementary school. She gave book reports on them. Did not seem very interesting. And Wuthering Heights as Twilight doesn't really, I don't know. I would prefer to have it like I have my other books, so Next up is a book whose binding does not look very interesting. Plain red, plain red. And then on the spine it just kind of has this little, almost like kind of like the top of a castle wall shape on the spine. It's called The Dead Sea Scrolls by Miller Burroughs. And it came out in the 50s, I believe. And the reason I included this one in here is because of what I said earlier, the Oddities. And what's very interesting about this one is that when I bought it at a used bookshop, it came with this inside of it, which had belonged to the original owner. And what this basically is a copy of a radio transcript from a radio program that was broadcasted live on Sunday, November 18th, 1956. And the name of this broadcast was The Caves of Khirbet Qumran. So this broadcast was from a program that the University of California used to do, and it was called The Explorer. And I guess weekly they would feature different information of exploration around the world. And this particular week's one was about the caves in which the Dead Sea Scrolls had been found. Fitting because the book is about the Dead Sea Scrolls. And I just thought this was really interesting. It piqued my interest to a great extent. And I looked up the, I looked up the Explorer, the radio broadcast, online to see if there was any history about it or other programs that they did, and I didn't really find anything, so I'll have to look into that deeper. So yeah, I'm pretty sure the person actually printed this in the 50s as well, which makes it even more interesting. Okay, on to the next one. Another Bronte sister, Charlotte Bronte, who wrote Jane Eyre. This is my second copy of Jane Eyre. And I really liked this one because it had this kind of very pretty floral, almost quilted kind of look on the front. I mean, because like it has the even squares. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah. Well, they're not squares, they're diamonds. The diamond pattern, and at the intersections they have little flowers. And then on the spine they have an almost enlarged version of that, where they have the intersections and the diamonds with the flower in the middle. Another thing that's really cool about this one is inside it has a little paper talking about the binding, and the front of which says, "This volume comes to you in the 19th century Mercier Binding." So this binding is circa 1891 and was made by the French master bookbinder Émile Mercier? I don't know French. If you know how to pronounce that last name, please let me know. Thank you. And on the back, it just talks about the book in general. So that's really cool. Ah yes, illuminated letter right there. You see that? See? Art history. I don't know anything about art history, so yeah. Next up, we have The Travels of Marco Polo. And you can really tell this one is a little bit older just because of the awkward design on the cover, which looks like you had long nails or like your dog scratched it up, but this is not the case. And it also has this kind of honeycomb pattern in between the scratches. And on the side, this isn't engraved, this is just printed or painted. Travels of Marco Polo, with these little kind of square frames with swirly floral filigree question mark. I'm not sure what you would call that pattern, but yeah. As for this one, I don't know when this copy was published. There's no information whatsoever about the publishing. So yeah. The last one is like the Alice in Wonderland one. I remember I told you I had two. And by that I didn't mean two Alice in Wonderland, but rather two that were the same in binding. The Alice in Wonderland and the Sonnets from the Portuguese by Elizabeth Barrett. So some background info on that one. The poet Elizabeth Barrett fell in love with the poet Robert Browning, and they wrote love poems to each other because they were both poets. Fun stuff. And they got married and she became Elizabeth Barrett Browning. And the poems that she wrote to him during their courtship subsequently became the Sonnets from the Portuguese. And so now you may ask why they're called Sonnets from the Portuguese. We'll see now. Elizabeth Barrett Browning didn't have that kind of classical European beauty of, light skin and blonde hair. She had a more what they used to call Spaniard look because she had darker skin, she had dark eyes and dark hair. And Robert Browning would affectionately tell her that she looked Portuguese, and he would call her his Portuguese beauty or something along those lines. And so she would name the poems that she wrote to him Sonnets from the Portuguese because they were from her. And I'm not quite sure how many there are. I think there's around 30 or 40. And they have been contained herein in this same 1940s type binding. Yes, I love this because it has the mark of approval. I don't know if you can see that, but someone put a sticker in there. The book did not come like that. Someone put a sticker in there saying, "I approve this message." And that's just great. Yeah. Something else that's interesting about this book is that on every right-hand side of the page is a silhouette image. So the poem would be here on the left-hand side, numbered in Roman numerals. This is number 12. And on the right-hand side would be the silhouette depicting something from the poem. And Barrett Browning's poems are very popular. These ones, I mean. I don't know about her other ones, but these ones are, at least across the English-speaking world, almost universally known as like these great and amazing love poems. Example, the most famous one goes like this. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depths and breadth and height my soul can reach when feeling out of sight, to the ends of being and ideal grace. That's only part of it. I'm not going to recite the whole thing because I don't know the whole thing, but yeah. And that's all for Elizabeth Barrett Browning. That is all for this video on interesting books with interesting covers and oddities. Thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your week and stay safe. Goodbye.